Hello everyone, we're on chapter 10 and we are on paragraph 11. Monism is quite clear that a being actor under physical or moral compulsion cannot be a truly moral being. It regards the phases of automatic behavior following natural urges and instincts and of obedient behavior following moral standards as necessary preparatory stages of morality. But it also sees that both these transitory stages can be overcome by the free spirit. Monism frees the truly moral world conception both from the mundane fetters of naive moral maxims and from the transcendental moral maxims of the speculative metaphysician. Monism can no more eliminate the former from the world than it can eliminate percepts. It rejects the latter because it seeks all the principles for the elucidation of the world phenomena within that world and none outside it. Just as monism refuses even to think of principles of knowledge other than those that apply to men, see chapter 7, so it emphatically rejects even the thought of moral maxims other than those that apply to men. Human morality, like human knowledge, is conditioned by human nature. And just as beings of a different order will understand knowledge to mean something very different from what it means to us, so will other beings have a different morality from ours. Morality is for the monist a specifically human quality, and spiritual freedom is the human way of being moral. And 11 is summarized as follows. Monism regards the phases of automatic behavior, that is, urges and instincts, and obedient behavior, that is, following moral standards, as necessary preparatory stages of morality, and that they can become overcome by the free spirit. Human morality, like human knowledge, see chapter 7, where he argues about how it is not our concern how other beings who may have had more senses perceive the world. We have to focus on how humans see the world. It is conditioned by human nature. Other beings will have a morality different from ours, and therefore only considers moral maxims that apply to humans. Morality, for the monist, is a specific human quality, and spiritual freedom is the human way of being moral. So this paragraph is pointing out that it sees the phases of automatic behavior and obedient behavior as preparatory stages, and it's the free spirit that overcomes this. And as well, in chapter 7, Steiner was, if we remember, chapter 7, Steiner was talking about how they were talking about, the argument was brought up about, how would an alien perceive the world, if they have all these senses, and, it doesn't matter for them what their theory of knowledge is, because their theory of knowledge is going to be relevant for them, and they'll have their own unique theory of knowledge. And it's the same thing that applies to humans. He says human morality, like human knowledge, is conditioned by a human nature, and so our morality is really good for us, and it's, we shouldn't try and think about, well, what's moral for other beings, because it doesn't matter. What matters is for us as humans. And he says morality is for the monist a specifically human quality, and spiritual freedom the human way of being moral. So for Steiner, being spiritually free is the way we are to be moral beings. And that is what that is about. Okay, so we're going to just move on to the edition. I'm not going to read the edition. I'm just going to talk a little about it. I'm not too 100% on explaining this edition, but I'll just do my best here. He talks about a perceived contradiction in the last two chapters, and that is he's mentioned thinking has a universal quality to it, and then at the same time it brings up the other side, that the ideas come to realization in the moral life, come to expression in each human consciousness in an individual way. So it's sort of bringing up what is perceived as a contradiction. We have these thoughts about how we know the world, but then we have these thoughts as well that cause us to act in life. And that's not, that it looks like a contradiction, but Steiner believes it is not true, because he later argues, he clarifies, he says, if we really understand how ideas are intuitively experienced in their self-sustaining essence, it becomes clear that in the act of knowing, man on the edge of the world of ideas lives his way into something which is the same for all men, but that when from this world of ideas he derives the intuitions for his acts of will, he individualizes a part of this world by the same activity that he practices as a universal human one in the spiritual ideal process of knowing. And I think that just basically means that the intuitions that we're grasping in clear thinking, we're individualizing that, but the idea can be grasped by anyone, and that doesn't mean that it's a contradiction, because thinking is universal, and we can all have ideas, but there'll be certain ideas that we will individualize, and that's not having any sort of effect on the universality of thinking. And that seems to be the point there.